Are you guys gonna go?
Cleveland. Shall give us pause as putrid rifles gaping Mars.
What is going on here? What are you supposed to be talking about? Your mic's not even on. You don't even have your tablet. No, it's cool. No, it's cool. Come over here. I'll give it to you. No, see here. You can just right here.
Oh boy. Hello. My name is Michael Bishop. I am a musician. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, from Hopewell, Virginia, actually. I am the human slave of the Berserker Blöthar, who is the new lead singer of Gwar. I'm also an academic. I graduated from the University of Virginia with a Ph.D. in music. And my research and my writing focuses on music and issues of regional identity. So, when I was asked to speak about Gwar, how is Gwar uncommon? Well, one way is that they claim to be aliens from outer space that were frozen. They were sent to Earth to conquer the planet. They were frozen in Antarctica. And there they lived until glam rockers in Los Angeles using hairspray, bands like Rat and Poison and Motley Crue created a sort of global warming which caused a hole in the ozone layer, thawing out Gwar. So Gwar is from Antarctica. But really, Gwar is from Richmond, Virginia. And what we found when we got out, when I was a young guy in the middle of the 80s, riding out in the world, is that that's almost as strange as being from Antarctica to many people. Gwar, and that's what I want to talk about today, is Gwar as a Richmond band, right? How does Gwar reflect the culture, history, and even the geography of Richmond? One way is that Gwar was the product of the underground music and art community of Richmond, Virginia in the mid-1980s, right? Gwar is, it's an art collective of musicians and artists that work together to create meaning. We call that collective the Slave Pit. And what we create is Gwar. But in fact, a lot of musicians in Richmond, dozens of bands, and a lot of artists have gone into the creation of Gwar. It's truly a product of the underground community in Richmond, Virginia. And those people can claim it, right? And Gwar would not have existed were it not for Virginia Commonwealth University. And in particular, the art school there. And in particular, the ways the guys really hated art school there, right? So the two most important figures in Gwar getting started were Hunter Jackson, an artist, Dave Brockie, a musician, also an artist. And both of those guys moved to Richmond to go to school. But they didn't actually meet there. They met at another place, a sort of hub of the underground arts community in Richmond at the time, which is the Richmond Dairy. And the Richmond Dairy is a building. It's very distinctive. It's over here in Jackson Ward. It's got 3 milk bottles on the corners. But in the mid-'80s, it was a dilapidated, rundown space that was constantly being renovated, but nothing was ever really happening. And it was full of a bunch of hippies and artists and ne'er-do-wells, punk rockers. And that's where we could afford to put our rehearsal spaces and where we could afford to create art, right, to have art studios. And Jackson Ward in the 1980s was marked by severe economic depression, right, concentrated poverty and crime. And the Dairy was kind of an island in the middle of all that. So the Dairy was the site of the first slave pit, because that's also what we call the studio. Hunter Jackson had moved there, and he was making a low-budget movie about aliens that try to conquer the planet Earth, but they get distracted by sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and so they start a rock band. Well, next to Hunter's studio at the Dairy, there was a rock band. A guy named Dave Brockie playing in his goofy band, Death Piggy, who were one of the greatest bands from this city ever. And the idea was, well, they'll be the rock band, right? And so Gwar was born. And it would not have happened had it not been for the Richmond Dairy. But also, though, interestingly, it would not have happened if Richmond didn't have urban decay, right? If it weren't a blighted city. Harmful policies there in the mid-'80s of sort of subsidized housing, withdrawal, lack of investment, and white flight from the inner city to the counties, concentrated poverty in the inner city of Richmond, Virginia. And that fact bears on the creation of Gwar. And so I want to talk about something right now that might make people a little bit uncomfortable, because I'm talking about race, right? I think that there are some unexamined dynamics of race, class, and power in that fact. Here's where I become an academic. Gwar registers this city's troubled history of race relations and economic struggle. So too, Gwar registers racialized debates and contested narratives of history in Richmond, Virginia. We named our production company Slave Pit. The people who work for Gwar are slaves of Gwar. And when you tell people that, in the mid-'80s, it's interesting, most people didn't bat an eye. Now, right? Well, and slavery is in a way a central concept to Gwar. We talk about working for the band as being slaves of Gwar. Gwar has slaves, Gwar are slaves. And of course, slavery in the context of Gwar, we're talking about this sort of DIY ethic of punk rock, right? Of voluntary devotion to art. And it represents freedom in this weird way, right? The freedom to create. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean all the other stuff that it means. We can't divorce that word from the concept of slavery, especially not in Richmond, Virginia. It has a specific meaning. We can't take that meaning away, right? Can't divorce slavery with its historical meaning. So an example of how Gwar reflects and reminds Richmond of its history is this idea of slavery and Gwar slaves. But the idea also kind of betrays privilege. It betrays Gwar's identity, right? In that in our narrative, slavery is an option, right? Just like it was an option for us to live and work in Jackson Ward. And it might not have been that way for the other people who lived there. That dynamic speaks to the identity of the city. Richmond has always challenged Richmond. We've challenged the social world here. Early on in Gwar, we killed these sort of archetypes. We'd bring out a redneck on stage that had a shotgun, and we'd kill him. And we would kill the art teachers that we had at VCU. And, and we would kill religious figures, right? We'd bring out anybody that sort of like wanted to sort of brandish a moral stick at Gwar, we would kill them. But Gwar is not real. Gwar's never killed anyone. Before he died, Dave Brockie said something very interesting on the news. He said, they were like, well, what about the controversy surrounding Gwar? Well, Gwar, he said, is doing nothing but continuing a Richmond tradition of death and destruction. The Civil, and what he was talking about there was the Civil War and tobacco, right? The Civil War made Richmond, Virginia, a city of mass graves, right? It made a horrific struggle happen here that you can't erase that energy. A lot of death happened in this city, terrible violence. And the narrative of that history is contested. And that's one of the ways that Richmond is known on the world stage, is that narrative is contested. Putting a statue of Arthur Ashe on Monument Avenue, putting the statue of Lincoln at Tredegar, building a stadium over the site of a historic slave market. So these debates are what Richmond is known for on the world stage. And it's known for tobacco, an industry that for years killed people. I mean, I don't know, maybe the people kill people, there's that argument. But smoking caused cancer. And they knew it, and they denied it. The only people denying that smoking caused cancer in the world were attorneys from Richmond, Virginia. So Richmond economy, Richmond history, linked to the Civil War, to death, to issues of race, economic struggle, but also Gwar. In that context, Gwar looks like the safest thing to ever come from this city. So why is all of this important? Because like it or not, Richmond, Gwar is one of your most recognized cultural products. I'm very proud of that. And Gwar never killed anybody, right? Gwar carries Richmond, Virginia to the world. And while we do these things on stage, we kill people on stage, we act crazy, Gwar is about creative energy. It's about people coming together to create something. And I just wanted to do that today, or talk about that today, and also acknowledge the history surrounding that Richmond, Virginia. So thank you.